All right, guys, I thought I'd make a start on this stream. I hope you're all having a good evening. I thought I'd just do an impromptu stream because it just so happens that since I can't actually go to the protest myself, although I would love to be standing outside or wherever in a London street holding up a placard um, protesting the shit out of Orange Twathead himself. I can't. So instead, as a replacement, I will do this stream because I know a lot of people would appreciate me doing a anti-Trump rage slash stream slash rant. Um, because everyone loves to hear a rant, don't they? So it just so happens that I was happily sat downstairs watching a nice television drama, as you do, and I switched the channels, and what do I see? I see Donald Trump himself, or the absolute motherfucking shithead, and I see him standing atop a staircase, a step, a red atop a red carpet rolled out in front of him, standing next to Theresa May and her husband with a fucking brass band playing out something like some trumpet ballad for him, and everybody else, all the sycophants that's decided to attend in their tuxes and dresses, in honor of this disgusting excuse for a human being. And he's standing there, like, properly taking it all in. I'm talking about Donald Trump, taking it all in as if he's the fucking king of the world. He's being treated like fucking royalty. I kid you not. This is why I literally switched over to Donald Trump standing at foot of a couple of stairs. This is at Blenheim Palace, I believe, which is in Oxfordshire. And instantly where Winston Churchill was born. I've been there myself, and I've looked around the house. It's a very nice, stately home. But beside the point, um, it just he's just loving it. Like, you could tell on the look on his face. I'll show you a video in a second. The look on his face, as if like I am being treated like I deserve all of this, like all this brass band and this like really amazing this wonderful event that they've done just for me. I feel so special and I deserve, like, it's such an entitled, it's like, oh, it's disgusting. It's so disgusting. And it just riled me so much. Like, I barely watched. I kid you not, I barely watched 5 minutes worth of it, and it massively triggered me. Yes, I am a huge libtard for saying that, but I was massively triggered by watching Donald Trump literally having the red carpet rolled out for him, standing next to like our joke of the PM, and I tweeted this. Like, this is just this just sickens me. It's so cringeworthy, and it's just the fact that it's just so, people are just like, you could pretty much be bending over backwards for, they could literally be, everyone around him could be on their knees sucking his dick. The atmosphere. That's what it felt like. Um. So yeah, it just compelled me to do this stream. Um. So, who do we have in the stream this evening? Stizer is here, Shafted is here, and Cameron is here. Who says, "What a bunch of idiots outside Blenheim Palace." Um, well, he got Kim Jong to get rid of his nuclear weapons. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Shafted. Um, so anyway, I was going to show you a video. Um, strong and stable genius with a strong and stable leadership. Damn straight. Um, so yeah, I was going to show you a video. I think it was the first one I saw was a CNN video, but then I saw a BBC video as well. So I'm going to screen share and show you this video. Just to give me a second. I'll take my headphones out as well, because otherwise you won't be able to hear what I'm playing you. So Wah. Here, so here's the CNN video. Let me know if you can't hear it. Walking out of the presidential limo. Hang on a second. Let's go back. Let's go back a minute. This is something that I've noticed. Look at this person. The car is so big that he needs both hands to hold the door open. Funny. That tickled me. Anyway, on with the video. Ah, come on. Walking out of the presidential limo. Ah, sycophants, sycophants, sycophants. Ugh. She's dressed like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Wonder what they're talking about. Please, Donald, give us a trade deal, and we'll give you this palace. We'll give you this palace if you do a trade deal with us. Beauty and the Beast, literally. Beauty and the Beast. You gonna hold hands? I'm still holding the door. I'm still holding the door. There we have Theresa May in a long red gown, and the President of the United States and the Prime Minister's husband both in their tuxes, making their way to the room. Listen to this. Brass band. Roll the red carpet out for the king and queen. Who's that? Did they just hold hands? Again. Sycophants. More sycophants. Oh, I must get a photo. Oh, I'm in the front row. More bands. More brass. Literal red carpet. Literal red carpet. Oh my god. Yep. On you go. On you go. Yep. So that's the video, folks. Sorry, I was just checking the side chat on my phone. I got slightly distracted. But yeah, whilst we unload out of that, and I think the BBC have got one as well, which goes on for slightly longer. Yeah, now they're actually doing like processions and shit. And look at his face. Look at his face. He looks like, I deserve this. This is mine. I'm the king. I am the lord of the castle. I mean, this is just so. I feel really embarrassed. Like, we're literally rolling out a red carpet and treating this guy like royalty. And it's like, well done, you get rewarded for being a narcissistic, clueless, ignorant, incompetent sex pest. Well done. You've got this far in life for being a dick. That's what you get. And it goes on. I'm not inclined to carry on watching the rest of this because it's just too much. It's so cringy. It's so cringy. And yeah, it's oh god. It just Like, can you just imagine? I think it just goes on. I think it just goes on. I can't. Guys, I'm gonna pause it because it's just more of the same, and I can't bear it. I cannot bear it. I'll stop sharing for a moment. Guys, I'm just getting the most. I'm so triggered. I'm so triggered. I just the twattery of this person being treated like a fucking lord, like fucking royalty. And the Queen has to meet this person, this guy tomorrow, I think. Like they said that it was gonna be it was just gonna be like it got downgraded from being a state visit to like a working visit, but still they're gonna treat him like he's some sort of aristocrat and just I just can't. I hope the Queen makes some excuse like she's ill or Philip is ill, so she doesn't have to meet him. What what would that be like? Jesus Lord. So what you guys all saying? Mm, Green Reaver. Oh, I've not seen you before. Welcome to the stream. He says, or she, our leader is actually important. That's the bomb-proof car. Right. Well, I'm sure you think that, but I don't think that he's important. He's very much expendable, but I don't condone violence or bombing any sort of car, because I'm a I don't know. Melania has a nice dress. Yay, we have an American in the chat. I apologize to our American viewers. May doesn't deserve any of it, of course. She done fuck all for this country. You are right about that. All knees shall bend whether you complain. Excuse me, Mr. Miss or Mrs. Green Reaver. Your president is a first class twat, and I am not ashamed for saying it. The things that he has done to two minorities, like all around the world, whether it be black or ethnic or immigrants or women or LGBT, transgender people, the nasty, just derogatory things that he said about like anyone that he doesn't like, even like to his clueless, brainwashed supporters who think that their wages have gone up when actually like they're going downwards and they're actually stagnating. Believe all this horse shit. So, it will be you next. If you don't think it's you now, it's going to be you in the future, and you'll probably be questioning why the hell you voted for this twat. That's what he is. No, make no mistake. Like he'll be coming for you next, and you'll deny it all you want to, but these people like are only in it for themselves. They have no care for the lowly working class people, and they lie to you because they know that you're going to buy it. That's why he said, I love the poorly educated in his campaign trail, because he knows that you're going to buy all his horseshit rhetoric about draining the swamp and building a wall and all the rest of it, because he knows that you're gonna fucking buy it, and you have. You know, he was right about one thing. Like he could go to whichever avenue and shoot somebody, and he wouldn't lose any voters because he's got his cultish following. Who, no matter what he says, no matter what he does, he could fucking, I don't know, rape a MAGA person's wife, and they would still support him. They would still support him no matter what. And they'd probably blame or like make an excuse and justify it using the Bible and try and say that God willed it. What a bunch of tards. Sorry, but what a bunch of bought off, brainwashed tards. I never said you were poorly educated. I never said that you were. You're just putting words in my mouth and projecting now. I'm just repeating what your dear leader said. I'm just repeating it. So what else do we have? Oh, well shafted. When I said LGBT, I think they're at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Trump and his administration want to sort of discuss rolling back the Roe v. Wade law or bill, which was I think am I getting confused? It's either the Abortion Act or the Gay Marriage Act. Someone remind me. But he's also said that transgender people can no longer serve in the military, which was a thing that Obama pushed back on before. And now Trump has gone against it. So that's one thing that he's done to transgender people. Well, Trump is doing nationalist things, which is good. I mean, I guess you could argue that you could say that they're nationalists, but I'd also say that they're very protectionist. But at the same time, I'd say, well, I said LGBT, so I sort of put them all into one category. Mentally ill people. I'm going to block you in a second, Green Reaver, because I don't like where your language is going. Oh, what was I saying? What was I talking about? Yeah, he's doing very protectionist things, but at the same time, what annoys me is that he just goes back on things that instead of actually carrying out the things that he said that he's going to do in his campaign trail. For one thing, like draining the swamp. Let's drain the swamp. Let's take out all the corporate, capitalist, elitist establishment people and replace them with people that can actually do jobs, let's assume, or competent people. And instead, he's just filled it with more corporate, capitalist, like establishment shills. Just like one of his first picks was Rex Tillerson, who was the former CEO of ExxonMobil, the conglomerate oil and natural gas company, for a Secretary of State. And talk about filling the swamp with swamp monsters. And I could go on, like more people, like what's the name? Who's the education woman who talked about bears getting into schools? She's basically like an heiress or someone who's married to a millionaire or a billionaire, like part of that family. I can't remember her name. Someone Roe v. Wade. Oh, thank you, Cam. Roe v. Wade's abortion. But yeah, they're thinking of rolling that back as well. But just all of the things that he's done. Trans equals mentally ill, right? Okay, that's enough. There you go. Bubblevis says, Betsy DeVos, thank you. Thomas Williams, thank you. You need protectionism to protect the national's vital industries like steel factories and agriculture and so on. I see that, but I mean, at the same time, you can be you can be protectionist, but at the same time, you sort of have to not completely close your doors, because it means that you're sort of shutting yourself off from other opportunities. and other, potential allies that you already have, that you're turning your back on, essentially. And your friends are depleting, like the things that you're saying, the actions that you're taking. You're being very aggressive with the tariffs that you put on other countries, and it's not conducive to a healthy, good relationships. And like even with Russia, when I think it was today or yesterday, when he was at the NATO summit, he was Trump was sort of having a go at one of the German ambassadors or ex-chancellors, I think. I think his name was Stoltenberg or something like that. But he was saying to him, like, well, basically, why is Germany having a relationship with Russia? Like, you're being controlled by Russia. Like 70% of your economy is influenced by Russia because you've got a pipeline that's being built, like a gas pipeline. And why is it that when you say you don't like Russia, you're having trade deals with Russia? And it's basically like you can still, like, why are you so salty about it? You can still have, despite having frosty relations with let's say your enemies, like countries that you don't have the best relationship with, you can still do trade with them. You can still carry out trade with them even in times of conflict. That was happening in like America. Both America and Russia were doing trade deals with each other during the Cold War, and that's when tensions between those two countries were at its highest. So, I mean, it doesn't stop just because you don't like certain countries. It doesn't stop you from doing trade with them. You can still have your principles, and you can still put sanctions onto them, or you can tell them what you think and be critical, but at the same time you can still have like a trading relationship. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. So I think on the most part, like, there's a video of Trump like just being like a complete ignorant tool and saying, why are you doing a trade deal with Russia? You're the Russia, you're friends with Russia. It's not America. It's you that's friends with Russia. I think he was just salty because he wanted to he wants a trade deal with Russia, and Germany have got one with Russia instead, and he wants a pipeline. And yeah, they haven't managed to lift the sanctions yet, I don't think. So I think that's why he's slightly jealous. So thank you, Shafted. It's not the best impression, I must admit, but I try. I'm not. Bubba says I'm not for shutting the doors completely or turning the backs to long-standing friends. Europe should be friends with Russia. They are our natural allies. I think that nations that are close to you should be favored in trading deals. That's true, I think, to an extent, and that's probably why I'm aligned more to our relationship with the EU, because they're our closest trading partners, and I'm a bit more than just peeved, actually, that we're leaving as a Remainer. I hope we still retain like a lot of trade and maintain a good relationship at the very least, and at least have a deal, like a decent, well laid out deal that everyone can get behind, which doesn't seem to be happening at the moment because our government is incompetent. But yeah, I agree with you to an extent, Bubble, this, that I think you shouldn't shut your doors off completely, but I disagree with what Trump is doing, because I just think he's very clueless, and he's very incompetent, and he just runs his mouth off without thinking, and he tweets without thinking, and nobody is there to tell him not to do stuff, because he's just an insolent, incompetent man-child who, you know, doesn't like being told what to do, doesn't like receiving criticism. So he thinks like everything was fucking handed to him on a silver platter the day he was born. He's never had to work a day in his life because all he ever needed was given to him by his fucking daddy. And ever since his dad died, he's had fucking daddy issues. I can just tell, like, the way that he speaks, the way that he just is that's someone with daddy issues, I'm telling you. So yeah, I just can't stand him. I can't stand him. And like anyone who just normalizes his behavior and makes excuse after excuse for him just really like hacks me off like massively. They just like, how is this allowed? And they just poke, they make straw man arguments, and they're like, what about this, what about that, why aren't you protesting for this? It's like, it's just stop. We're talking about a country that should, and for the most part is, our ally, our natural ally, has been our ally for hundreds of years. And now we've got an idiot in chief in the White House who is just acting like a fucking petulant child who refuses to be told things, just can't do anything, just is completely incompetent. It sucks on foreign policy. It causes like so much aggression to the point of trade wars and people feeling uneasy about the fact that he's in charge. And, you know, people in Europe, like Angela Merkel isn't happy, and, you know, loads of other people, just like, it's just insane that we somehow are letting this fool just dictate what, like, the world order. It's insane. And I just wish that someone would just call it out for what it is. Excuse me. I don't know if anybody saw, actually, I think it was on Good Morning Britain, and Ash Sarkar from Novara Media was on with Susanna, what's her name, and Piers Morgan, talking about the Trump visit. And that was a fucking furious row, I have to say. And it just made Piers just look like he had nothing. I felt really sorry for Ash Sarkar, actually. I'll see if I can find the video, actually. I know probably a lot of you have probably seen it. But yeah, if you guys watch Novara Media, there's a girl, she's like the senior editor for Novara Media, the guy that has Aaron Bastani on it. But I'll see if I can, it's definitely on Twitter somewhere. Because I tweeted it. I'll find it and then I'll show it. I'll show some of it to you because it just went on for ages, and it was basically, I felt really, because like, honestly, Piers Morgan was being a prick. Like, honestly, let you guys let me know what you think. Find it. Dum 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 dum. Right, I'll screen share again. Screen share. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of this interview. I think it goes on for about 5, 6, 7 minutes. Oops.
We have a president of another democracy who, you know, can face up to protests. It's all part of our rights.
Oh, look, you absolutely have a right to protest.
I don't know who that is.
Look, you know, we've had presidency of China. We didn't have Robert Mugabe come and visit London. Every tin pot dictator, every nutter, everybody who...
I hope you can see that.
Everybody runs their own slave labour camp. We're not worried about them. What we're worried about is the most
Let's point out,
pro-British.
people do protest.
Well, no, they
when
don't.
those
There
people
was
do that. Yes, they
almost
do.
nothing. If you show me some footage of a Robert Mugabe protest when he came to London, I'd be hugely
So as
impressed.
long as
don't have it.
you're not allowed to protest against anyone unless you protest against everyone.
You're allowed to protest, but what you should do is surely get a sense of proportion about the scale of protests that we plan for various world leaders. I do not understand why, when we've just had President Erdogan of Turkey, who many people think is one of the most dangerous dictators in the world right now, and we've had the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who is committing war crimes and
no protest against.
Why are we getting? Let me ask you this, Ash. Why are we having much bigger protests against Donald Trump, leader of the United States of America, our ally, than were ever planned for Erdogan or for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia?
So lots of the organisers for Stop Trump Coalition have been heavily involved in protests against the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
But where were those protests? Hardly anybody turned up.
I think the reason why the protests against Trump are so much bigger is precisely because America is supposed to be our greatest ally.
Do you think he's worse than Erdogan and the Crown Prince of Saudi in terms of human rights abuses, in terms of the way he treats his people, for example?
What I'm saying is that the purpose of this protest the purpose of this protest isn't just about his own domestic policy platform, which I think is terrible.
Right.
I think just because that there are more egregious abuses of human rights elsewhere does not mean.
Why is your focus of your effort to stop Trump and not worse people?
This is what I was explaining, right? Is that when someone is supposed to be our greatest ally, it does mean that we should hold them to greater standards of accountability, because it's not just about.
I don't buy that argument.
But hang on.
But what are we stopping? What are we stopping Trump doing? Trump is here to effectively beg us for a free trade deal post-Brexit that is going to benefit the United Kingdom and benefit the United States of America. You don't want him here. That means presumably you don't want to push forward that economic regeneration that Britain will need. And that makes it absolutely mad. You are cutting off your nose.
He has not been a reliable ally in trade.
Oh, he's totally reliable. He's been to Europe to tell them that they are taking the mick by not paying their fair share in terms of the NATO.
Which is not what it means. Which is not what it means to be a reliable ally. When you're sorry to interrupt. You just asked Ash a question and haven't allowed her to answer.
I'm happy for her to do it.
Okay, so he's not actually been a reliable ally when it comes to trade. When you look at Bombardier, it was his reckless policy of trade tariffs which put British jobs in danger. Furthermore, when it comes to his criticisms of NATO, that is a real risk to that particular defence strategy. What I'm saying is that he has not been a consistent or a reliable friend to the UK, and most of the British people, 67% in fact, think he's doing a terrible job as president.
Do you know how many illegal immigrants Barack Obama deported in 8 years?
And lots of people I know, both in the States and
I fucking hate this segment.
It was a huge amount of
I fucking hate it.
Would you like to tell me, please?
No, I'm asking you.
It was...
You know every stat about Trump, but do you know actually how many illegal immigrants Barack Obama deported in his 8 years as president?
There was a huge expansion of immigration, detention and removal under Obama.
Have a guess.
I don't know the number, Piers. Would you like to tell me?
Give me a number.
I don't know it.
Any number.
Piers, I don't know it.
1, 10, give me a number.
I told you it was probably in thousands. It was huge expansion.
How many thousands do you think? I'm serious. It's a serious question.
I know, but she's already said she's asked you to tell me the answer.
Have a guess.
Why? What's the value of making stuff up on air? I know that you're comfortable with
you go on and on about Trump, but here's my point to you.
Relationship to the truth.
You are running a Stop Trump campaign, but you have absolutely no idea how many illegal immigrants, it's a very sensitive area with Trump as well, how many illegal immigrants Obama deported in 8 years.
Because what we do know is that Obama, what we do know is that I'm not here as a defender of Obama or Clinton or any Democrat. I'm here as a critic of Trump.
There's a reason I get it.
What we do know is that less than half of under 5.
Can you give me any number for the number of illegal immigrants that Obama deported? Do you have any idea at all?
What we do know is that less than half of the under 5 people separated from their families at the border, which Obama did not do, will be reunited with their families.
10,000, 20,000? What do you think?
Listen, I told you I don't know. What more do you want from me?
Do you think it's thousands? What do you think?
Why don't you just say how many? I know how many.
I'm really curious why somebody so politically
activated. But this isn't a test of Obama.
Actually, you know what? It is, and I'll come to why it's a test in a moment. Do you know?
I'm sure you're going to tell me. She said no, she doesn't know.
The answer, do you think it's thousands?
Piers, this is about President Trump. No, but she's already said she doesn't know.
I'm really fascinated that nobody either knows or cares that Barack Obama smashed all records for
I told you
deporting.
it was a huge expansion.
know how
I
many it
admitted
is,
that
though?
already, and I said I'm not an Obama supporter.
But you have no idea how many it is, do you? It's a publicly stated figure. It's over 3 million illegal immigrants. Do you know how many bombs Obama dropped in his last year?
It was a huge expansion of the drone program, and that's why so many people,
Ash,
as part of the Trump coalition,
how many
have been
bombs?
critical of Obama's foreign
Ash,
policy.
simply,
But we're here to
I'm
talk
asking
about
you
Trump.
Yeah, but you're here to talk about
It's
stop
interesting
Trump.
that you're giving him a harder time than you have
I'm
given
asking
Trump
you
when
why you
you're
weren't trying to
isn't it?
stop Obama
deporting
3 million
Actually,
people.
Ash might not have opposed
We don't have a
Obama's
number.
policy.
You've no idea what was going
Because
on.
he's no longer in office, so now this is
And that's precisely right, isn't it? Look, Barack
My
Obama.
point is there were no protests for Barack Obama, yet he broke all the records for deporting illegal immigrants, splitting up loads of families. He smashed all records for the most bombs dropped.
You know, I'm really glad that you're friends with the anti-war movement and you're friends with immigrants like his.
No, it's not about that.
Really
It's not about that. It's
No,
about
it
the
is. No, you brought
hypocrisy
it up.
charge.
Wait.
Why were there no protests ever for Saint Barack Obama?
There
And
were
why don't you
anti-war
know
protests,
these
and I was a part of them. I've also been a part of immigrants' rights movements, both in Europe and in the UK, regardless of who's
You haven't got a Scooby about Obama. You don't know any of the numbers.
I didn't know one.
And here's my point. Let's bring you back in on this.
Oh my God! Every time I come on this show, it just needs to be an opportunity for you to have a
It's just
talk rather than let
me
this
to ask you
happen.
simple questions to which you haven't got a clue.
But Piers,
And
you
it's my point
yourself
about
have
the anti-
protested President Trump's immigration
Many
policy.
times.
You do
Many
not
times.
support the splitting up of families.
No, I do not.
on
But I
the
do
border.
support.
So how do you children are left on their own without their parents?
I do support Trump cracking down on illegal immigration on the southern border. It's a massive problem. 800,000 to 900,000 people a year come over that border. Right? I do support it. I do not support the policy of separating.
What about the 2,000 children
But I do think when you
separated
talk
from their
about
families?
Trump in this incredibly relentless, hostile, negative way, you have to know what Obama did too, because Obama was not
no
the
longer
that
president.
you anti-Trump
Is
say
no
he was.
longer
And you
president.
didn't have a clue about any of those numbers.
Piers, there is no
And that
test.
annoys me. It's
There
like,
is
come
no
on.
test or threshold for what people should be allowed to protest about. Ash has every entitlement to protest
Sure.
Trump's immigration
Just
policy.
know your
She
history.
doesn't need to go through
Know
an
your
exam
recent history.
before she goes out on a
And
protest.
it's not an exam. It's about knowing the facts about what the last president did, so you can actually put what Trump does into proper context.
And I have put it in context
And
because
isn't it
I have been a fierce critic of the detention of families, which Obama expanded, and I was against that. But what Trump did that Obama did not do
When he came to
was
London, he was welcomed as a conquering hero.
was use the separation of children as a means to discourage people.
But I
from
agree with
making
you about
political
that.
Isn't this
And that's
interesting?
the point.
The last major protest was when George W. Bush was president. Actually, this is a group of professional leftists who just like to agitate and enjoy going out on the protest. That's why they're not
This is
interested.
professional president.
That's why they're not interested. George W. Bush had a huge protest. Donald Trump is getting a huge protest. If a Democrat wins the White House next time, whatever he does, nobody will give
You
it to
agree?
him.
You agree?
You have every right to go and protest the Democratic
Every
president.
right. And
No
they've got every
one's
right.
going to stop
They've
you
got every
doing
right.
that.
But Susanna, my point is, where were they when far worse people came into this city?
We hold our
Why-
friends and allies
Why
to
do
a
we hold
different
our friends
standard.
Why do we hold them to different
Because
standards?
it's a
That's utter
democracy.
hypocrisy.
But these are people who do not
Hold
like the West.
everybody to the same
You
standard.
don't like
They
the
don't like the
West.
West.
You either
They
have
don't believe
values
in
of the
free trade.
country and you
They
hold
don't-
them, or you don't.
Piers, they don't
You don't
believe in
pick
free
and
trade
choose.
capitalism. They don't believe in the Western Alliance. A lot of them, the older ones, wish the Soviet Union had won the Cold War. These people are not on the side of the country in which they reside, and that's why they hate our biggest ally.
Ash, where will you be marching in the next 2 days?
I'll be marching in Westminster tomorrow alongside thousands of other people who found the policy of border separations unconscionable.
Yep.
Who think that the sight of our elected Prime Minister holding Donald Trump's hand is an utter
Did you find
embarrassment.
Obama deporting
wish-
3 million people unconscionable? You
Yes.
spit up many fans.
Yes, I did,
Where
and
was-
that's why I
Where was
also
your protest
and
march
that's why-
against that
and-
when he came to
and that's why I also
But if you feel so
protest.
strongly
And that's
about
why
it,
I
Ash,
also protest
where was your
pension
protest march
deportation
against
in
Obama?
this
If
country
you found
as
that
well.
unconscionable too,
You do
where was
not
the
have
march?
to go out and march
double
against
standards.
everything in order to make a point about one thing.
No, if you find them both
I'd
unconscionable and
encourage
it's the same
you to
issue,
just
you have to
Piers,
march
Piers,
twice, don't
Piers,
you?
I would actually encourage you to maybe check out some of the other work they've done where I've been intensely.
Tell you what I do, Ash, I go and check out some basic facts about your hero Obama.
He's
and
not
then
my
see
hero. I'm
how
a
heroic he
communist, you
comes
idiot.
across. You didn't plan any protests against him, did you?
Ah,
Zero protests against Obama.
Jesus.
You have every right to protest.
Every right to
Susanna.
protest. Just get it in perspective. There were none against Obama. There were none against Vladimir
Have you
Putin.
ever march against Obama then if you're so keen
manning your investigators to make up for your own incompetence as a journalist?
Sorry.
You didn't hold Trump adequately to account when you interviewed
Yes,
him.
I did.
You didn't think that kind of thing was important enough to bring up.
I held
thought you'd
Trump
ask him
very
to
well
manage
to
your
account
favourite
on a
football
number of
team.
issues.
It's embarrassing.
Well, it may be
And
embarrassing.
instead what you've done,
But
is
actually,
strawman your guest,
what I
put
try and
words
be,
in my mouth,
what I try and be
and
with,
you've deflected from the
thank you.
actual
What I
argument
try
at
and do,
hand.
what I try and do is be fair about Trump. What you do
And to no one
is
else.
be relentlessly anti-Trump and relentlessly pro somebody like Obama.
I'm not pro-Obama. I've been a critic of Obama. I'm a critic of the Democratic Party because I'm literally a communist.
I'm literally a communist. On that bombshell, we have to leave it. Thank you both.
Yes, let's leave it. Right, guys. I'm sure you've been very vocal in the comments. Let's have a read what you. There's so much to say about that clip. It's literally exactly as Ash was saying. Piers has just set up in this specific interview a straw man argument of whataboutery, put words in her mouth, and tried to make an irrelevant point relevant. And it's been thrown back in his face, and he has been made to look like an idiot. And it's just like the most cringeworthy part of it is where he just wouldn't stop. Like he just kept on and on. Like, give me a specific number. Do you know the number? Oh, I'd like you to like. Do you know what the number is? Like the she literally said like I don't know 3 times, and then said probably it's in the thousands. It's a big number. It's a huge amount, and that would for me would be like an adequate answer. If someone said I don't know or it's a very large number, does the number really matter in this argument? It probably doesn't. It's President Obama is no longer the president, as we all have noticed, and it's not like, yes, what he was doing to illegal immigrants was terrible, and like he's not immune or like guiltless of the fact. No one is saying that he is. Ash certainly didn't. She made no like qualms about being critical of Obama, and like that's the person that she is. And at no point during the interview did she say that Obama was her hero or that he was a saint, that he was like a Democrat that she loved and admired. At no point did she say that, and that was Piers Morgan putting words in her mouth and trying to make her seem like she was like a pro-Democrat. And at the end, she literally bombed it. I'm a communist, you idiot. What a bombshell. Like, oh my God. Brilliant. And like also props to Susanna, who was the only person who in the on the panel to actually stick up for her. Like it was just pure bullying. And it was just so cringeworthy, and I'm glad that she stood up for herself, because if I was in that position, if I was in Ash's position, I would have like stood up and walked out of the studio. I wouldn't have been taking any of that bullshit. Like I don't know why it's important that like, oh, you have to be protesting absolutely everything. I mean, like they were making the excuse, like that other right-wing guy that was on the panel, as if nobody has ever protested anyone other than Donald Trump. Like nobody's ever protested Mugabe. No one's ever protested Erdogan. No one's ever protested Hitler. No one's ever protested Kim Jong-un. Of course they have. You just haven't fucking picked up on the fact because you've not done any research, and you just assume because Donald Trump is the president and it's a much bigger, much a wider, more influential position and a figure. It's much, and as it was stated, like you don't expect that from an ally of our country and such a big influential country like America as well. And that's why it's been given so much media attention, because he's so controversial. And that's not to take away from like what the Saudi imperial like princes do, and that's not to take away from what Erdogan does, not to take away from what Kim Jong-un does. All of the things that they do are equally as bad, and we should also be holding those people to account, which we are, but no one's choosing to notice. for whatever reason, like no one's choosing to notice the fact that we're helping Saudi Arabia to bomb Yemen using our weapons. Lots of people on the left are pointing that out, but the media don't want to take it up because it's not something that is tasteful or something that they want to like tell the world, because it's something that we're doing as the British, as the UK, helping to kill people, which we've been doing a lot for the past fucking 15, 20, 30, however long you want to go back for. So stop setting up your fucking straw man arguments, your redundant points, and trying to score points where it's completely irrelevant, because it's not going to fucking work. And I'm getting really pissed off about people who try and set up these straw man arguments and put words in people's mouths when they're clearly not saying that. And I'm not surprised that Ash was pissed off as well and decided not to respond, because I'd have fucking stood up and walked out of the room in protest, because that is not good journalism. The fact that you're constantly on at someone to give them a specific number that is completely irrelevant to the argument. So, and also I think that Susanna was right in saying you don't have to go out and protest because you disagree with one person doesn't then mean you have to go and protest out every other person who does a bad thing. You still have the right to protest, but it's just super annoying. Super annoying. So yeah, what are you guys saying in the comments? I hope you enjoyed that little clip. It went on for a bit longer than I thought. Ooh. Salisbury Street cordoned off by police after man falls ill. Oh, is that a new story? I hope that's not. Oh, police have cordoned off a street in Salisbury after a man fell ill in the city centre. Wiltshire police said they were dealing with an ongoing incident in Castle Street involving a man in his 30s. Oh, so another person has fallen ill. Christ. This is probably turned into a murder inquiry now, because someone has actually died. So I hope this is really taken properly seriously now, because this nerve agent has killed someone, and I think we need to look for answers and find the answers quickly. I can't believe she didn't walk off the set. I would have. Yeah, I totally would have as well. I just wouldn't be able to deal with that. Piers goes on about how Ash didn't go on an Obama demo. She'd have only been 16, for fuck's sake. Well, it's cherry picking, isn't it, at the end of the day? It's the media cherry picking what protests they want to broadcast and which ones they don't. And, people do go out and protest. It's just the fact that they don't get aired on TV or on the radio. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So, I hate when right-wingers pretend as if, there's double standards because people aren't protesting when other bad people do stuff. It's of course they fucking do. Of course they do. Why are you, acting like it's completely non-existent, and, people on the left are just oh, you're so hypocritical because you don't protest for other dictators. It's yes, they do. The media just choose not to broadcast it because it's not in their interests to, dumbass. I hope there's no violence in these protests, otherwise we're in deep shit. Well, I don't condone violence, but I hope there aren't fights or anything, or riots. But I honestly think we're getting to a stage where if things don't change, then we're probably looking at something akin to 2011 sort of thing. And that was in August, the summer of 2011. That's the same year that Amy Winehouse died. Fact. I'm a communist, you idiot. Jesus. That's, yeah. She's amazing, isn't she? She's great. She like stands up for herself proper. Commie invasion. God. Protesting about Trump is a waste of time. I don't believe so. I think we should hold the relevant people to account at all times. And it's made all the more easier because everyone knows that Donald Trump has the thinnest skin. So it's very easy to criticize him and it will get to him quite easily. So, the more effective it is, the more it will get to him somehow. And I bet he's going to tweet about the fact that if he does see or get wind of any protests, he'll be on Twitter straight away. And I hope he does, because I hope he gets triggered. I hope he gets triggered in the same way that I'm triggered, except the opposite way, because he fucking deserves it. I just think he's clueless. I can't think of any positive things that he's done. I think Shafted, you mentioned this in the stream or the chat earlier. Like, why am I so negative about Trump? And like, you have nothing positive to say about him and the things that he's done. I honestly can't think of any positive things that he's done. I honestly can't. So unless you can give me any examples, and I can try and like stick holes in them, or but I can't think of anything positive. If you want to remind me, because I've probably forgotten by now. Sorry. But yeah, I think you probably have mentioned them, but I further up in the chat. But yeah, you have to remind me. Sorry. I mean, some people would argue that his negotiation with Kim Jong-un is a positive thing. I'm yet to be convinced about that. Oh yeah, you just referenced it. Yeah. Well, until we actually see evidence of nuclear weapons being destroyed and their stockpiling decreasing, then yeah, as I said, I'm yet to be convinced. Reviving the economy, how? I because the tax cut that he did, that was mainly aimed towards like the very rich sort of corporations and like the 1% at the top. And they talk about trickle down economics, but like that was, I think that was only temporary. And I think the people that voted for that specific policy to get tax breaks, I think they're no longer seeing it, and it's not as much as they're expecting, and their wages are still stagnating, and they're still going downhill economically, and they're realizing that they're still, their livelihoods aren't going up and their life isn't improving, and it's just pretty shit. Trying to get on with Putin. You know what? On that point, I think that Putin has something on Trump, and that's why Trump is like bowing to him. I think that there's definitely something, that some evidence of something, whether it was during the election or like the campaign, or like dirty money or money laundering. I mean, I think money laundering is definitely involved. I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, there's loads of people in the Trump, like part of the Trump family, like that are like up to their necks in dirty money and corruption and dealings with Russia and stuff, like the Russian oligarchs and etc. And like that's no different in this country as well. It happens in London and the city, and money laundering into properties, and all that financial shit that I know I know it goes on, but it's just because it's so corrupt and people get so much because there's so much money involved. It's one of those things that it's hard to trace because people are clever about hiding money. So yeah, I think Putin definitely has something on Trump somehow, and that's why he's behaving in the way that he is towards him, like trying to be like, oh, let's get on with Putin because I'm a puppet and I must do what Putin says because he's the strong man and I only admire strong men and other things. Thomas Williams, he's going to build the wall, liberal. Oh, who's going to pay for it then? Because it's sure as fuck not going to be Mexico, is it? It's going to be America. Who's going to pay for the wall? America. What? I thought it was Mexico. He's genuinely tweeted about this. He's genuinely tweeted about getting money for the wall. Why would you be getting money for the wall? If you're a smart person, you'd question that tweet and ask, why are you getting money for the wall? I thought Mexico were paying for it. Fuck no. Hell no. Brainwashed tards. Trump tards. Sorry, I shouldn't be calling names. He's trying to help the people who Obama abandoned. Well, you could say that, but I think it's all rhetoric. It's all rhetoric to try and get people on the Trump train. And I think there's a lot of people, especially in the Christian evangelical community, that fall for that hook, line, and sinker. And it's sad. It's sad because like they genuinely believe that he's doing good things for them, and like all he's doing is filling the swamp with swamp monsters, and people like Betsy DeVos and all these other is it Henry Bolton somebody, the his advisor, who is it? It's not Henry Bolton. But yeah, the warmongers, proper warmongers that just are itching for another war because war makes money, people. War makes money. War and death and murder and bloodshed and purchasing of military and like just the military industrial complex as well. Just I think they spend more money is spent on the budget in the military industrial complex than is spent on like domestic infrastructure put together in America. I think more money is spent on that than is spent on like domestic infrastructure, I think. Putin and Trump fighting the evil bankers together. Really? Really shafted. Are you trolling now? Are you trolling? I just don't buy the mainstream media bullshit. Well, are you watching Fox News? I hope you're not. I take everything that the media says with a pinch of salt, to be honest, these days, and just question everything because you never know what could be fake and what could be true. At the end of the day, Hillary would be much worse. Well, I don't want to make excuses for her, and I don't want to justify why, like, she would be a good president because I don't think she'd still be part of that establishment, and she'd still be part of that sort of elitist line of sort of presidents past, she was by no means a perfect candidate, but I don't know what we would have got if she'd be president. It would certainly be more of the same, like a follow on from Obama. But I don't know, because like obviously she wasn't elected as president, so we can't say for sure what she would have done and what she'd been like. But again, like she's part of that quote unquote establishment. So it probably would have been more of the same sort of centrist slash right wing. I don't want to call the Democrats like Democrats. I really don't feel like that's what they are. I feel like they're sort of moderate conservatives, and the Republicans have now turned into proper extreme right wingers. I feel like that's where we are on the political spectrum. So, yeah, we can't say for sure, but she probably would have gone to war with another country, like added on to the 7 or 8 or so other wars that America are involved with. Probably carried on supplying arms and military to Saudi Arabia still, done a couple of arms deals with them. And Trump's exactly the same. Like he's been to Saudi Arabia, done some deals with them, and sucked their dicks as well. So it's one and the same, pretty much. You still voted for a monster. So yeah, I think I don't know. I think the election was just about picking two bad apples, and which one was the least worst apple out of a basket of rotten apples. Which was a shame, because Bernie Sanders probably, if he was picked as the Democratic candidate, then he probably would have wiped the floor with both of them. But the DNC decided not to run with him because he's too progressive and too revolutionary, and not towing the line, which is a shame. That's where we are. It's still at the moment. That's where we are. That both the DNC and the RNC just are still corporate shills that take money from corporate donors and don't think about the people that they are meant to be serving, and they're elected to serve. Massive shame, and I feel sorry for the people in America who just hate all of this. It's fucking tragic that people can be so bought off enough not to care about certain things. I mean, we're seeing like in the news just now about how the US, like the administration, is in opposition to breastfeeding. Fuck's sake, like the most natural thing in the world to a woman, and the government are opposed to it because it goes against, they're not making money out of it because they want to sell off like processed baby formula as opposed to what's natural. But anyway, that's another story for another time. Well, Shafted says, I'm not watching Fox, I can assure you, 1,000%. Fox News is really trustworthy. Yeah. No, it's not. Not at all. Fox is mainstream. I can't get Fox on my Sky subscription anyway. I'm glad you can't. Don't bother watching it, because you get brainwashed and your brain will turn to jelly and mush. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez is pushing for democratic socialism. Anyone know what that means? Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me of her name. I think she's a progressive part of the Justice Democrats who got elected in her, is it elected to Congress, or is she a nominee still and she needs to be elected in the midterms? I don't know the full story, but I know that she got a massive like swing of votes to her, which I was really pleased about. So yeah, we're all slaves to the corporates, Road Dog. Every one of us. Well, that's sad. I hope we'd still push for some sort of change, because I think we're now living in a world where corporate globalism is taking too much control over our lives and is causing a lot of damage in a lot of places. Plastic is a good example of that. You can see it everywhere, all over the ocean, and that's a result of corporate greed on a massive level. Did you see the whole white paper thing? Are you referring to, is that the Brexit white paper that was going to be released today or this week? I know that there was obviously like a checkers meeting on Friday where they came to some agreement about what Brexit would be, and like negotiations, basically everything would stay roughly the same. Obviously, we don't know the full details of it. I can check on a BBC website, the ever reliable BBC website, if you would like me to, and I could read out an article or so. Brexit white paper. Have a look. Do 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 do. Do you like my hold music? Do 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 do. Alrighty, I'll share it. I'll share my screen again. When was this article published? 4 hours ago. Okay, I guess I'll read it out. Oops. My Hangout just let me know that if this Hangout on air will end if you continue broadcasting content you aren't authorized to use. Oh, thanks for that reminder. I've stopped using it now, so you can't stop my broadcast. That's probably because I was streaming YouTube stuff. Sorry. Ooh, I'll share my screen again. Ah. Right. Yeah, I reckon I'll read this article out and go to you guys in the comments, and then I'll call it a day, I think, because I've gone on for about an hour. So yeah, if you guys don't mind, if you're all right with it. Brexit, what does the government white paper reveal? By Chris Morris. The government has published its long-awaited Brexit white paper. The document is 104 pages long and follows last week's Chequers Agreement, which sets out the sort of relationship the UK wants with the EU after Brexit. The white paper is split into 4 chapters: economic partnership, security cooperation, and institutional arrangements. Most of the debate surrounds the first section, the future economic relationship. So here are the key excerpts from the chapter on economic partnership and what they mean. Okay. Goods. The UK proposes the establishment of a free trade area for goods, including agri-food. The UK and the EU would maintain a common rule book, with the UK making an upfront choice to commit by treaty to ongoing harmonisation with EU rules on goods, covering only those necessary to provide for frictionless trade at the border. This is a line that emerged in the Chequers statement last Friday, and it's one of the most important in this white paper. So I guess what this paragraph is saying is that we're basically going to remain in alignment with the single market. Am I right in saying that? Because it sounds as if this ongoing harmonization and a common rule book sounds very similar to the common market. So it's just more of the same, isn't it? I think I'm right in saying that we're just going to carry on playing by the rules. I think I said that in my last video. We're just going to be a rule taker rather than a rule maker, and just, you know, follow instructions. I think that's right. It is the UK government's answer to the concerns expressed by businesses that rely on just-in-time manufacturing supply chains, such as car manufacturers, and to the need to avoid the reimposition of a hard border in Ireland. I'm glad they finally got somewhere on that, because that's important. The white paper proposes a free trade area for goods that is very close to single market membership for goods in orbit name. There you go, Bruno. Brexit in orbit name, very close to single market membership, I've just said. So there you go. Pretty much, yeah, Brexit in orbit name. Superficial Brexit. The suggestion of a common rule book sounds very collaborative, but it does in effect mean the UK agreeing to take on the EU's rules and regulations in all these areas. If the UK Parliament chose not to sign up to any of these rules, the idea of frictionless trade would begin to fall apart. The other big sensitivity in this section will be the role of the European Court of Justice. The white paper says the role of the ECJ in the UK will come to an end, and it sets our detailed proposals for joint institutional arrangements to police future economic ties. But the ECJ is the ultimate legal authority on EU rules with which the UK proposes to harmonise. Customs. The UK proposal is to agree a new FCA, facilitated customs arrangement, with the EU. As if in a combined customs territory with the EU, the UK would apply the EU's tariffs and trade policy for goods intended for the EU. The UK would also apply its own tariffs and trade policy for goods intended for consumption in the UK. Am I right in saying this is what Labour proposed? A customs union. A customs arrangement. I think that's right again. Funny that. No wonder Blairites are getting on board with this. There's more detail here about how the UK proposes to combine bits of its two previous customs proposals to create an entirely new customs relationship with the EU. It would take advantage of new technologies to make trade as frictionless as possible, but it would still involve the UK collecting EU tariffs on imports at UK borders on the EU's behalf, something which isn't done anywhere else in the world on any significant scale. Okay. So again, it's very much in keeping with keeping the same rules and regulations going, I'd imagine. And it sounds quite a bit like having cake and eating it to me, because, you know, this doesn't happen anywhere else in the world, because no other country has this exact same deal, which asks for everything in exchange for nothing. The white paper says the UK would also apply its own tariffs and an independent trade policy for goods intended for consumption in the UK. In other words, it would still seek to strike its own trade deals around the world, even though it would be bound by EU rules and regulations. Surprise, surprise. For once, Brexiteers and the EU appear united. Neither think the proposal has much chance of working because of its sheer complexity. You don't say. I think what this is basically another way of coming up with and creating exactly what we have already, but in a slightly different way. And I think that's just a massive waste of time, because what's the point in doing that if you already have something that is very similar to the thing that you want? Like, it just makes no sense. Unsurprisingly, the UK government disputes that and says it wants to be at the cutting edge of global customs policy. It's also worth noting that the white paper says the facilitated customs arrangement would have to be phased in, which is code for saying that it wouldn't be ready by the end of the proposed transition period in December 2020. You don't say, because you have no idea what you're doing, that's why. EU agencies. In some manufactured goods sectors where more complex products have the potential to pose a higher risk to consumers, patients, or environmental safety, a greater level of regulatory control is applied. The UK is seeking participation in these EU agencies as an active participant, albeit without voting rights, which would involve making appropriate financial contribution. The white paper confirms that the UK will seek active participation, if not full membership, of the European Aviation Safety Agency and the European Chemicals Agency and the European Medicines Agency. So I guess that's Euratom, isn't it, as well? The government is keen to address business demands that they only need to go through one approval mechanism to access both markets in highly regulated parts of the economy. The EU has previously ruled out full UK membership of these agencies and noted that it would have to accept the jurisdiction of the ECJ if it were to sign up to their rules and regulations. Yep, so more of the same. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to go independent. Either that or it's completely unfeasible. The white paper accepts that the UK would not have any voting rights in the way the agencies go about their business, and that it would have to make appropriate financial contributions to them. This is part of the pragmatic Brexit the government is now advocating, but it is not the resumption of full UK sovereignty that some leading Leave campaigners had promised. I think we'll leave it there because the article carries on a bit more. Talks about freedom of movement and services as well. So yeah, it's pretty much Brexit in name only, isn't it? Like I said, we're just going to become a rule taker rather than a rule maker, and I think that's quite similar to what kind of deal Norway has at the moment, because they're members of the single market, but they still have to follow the rules set for them by the EU. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it pleases anybody, to be honest. Let's have a look at the comments. I heard about it, sounded like pure theatre and absolute farce, but then that's what Brexit is. Yeah, I mean, I agree, to be honest. Like, I think the government has really backpedaled because they can't see any way out of it, and it's just turning into this theatre of like farcical nonsense. And like, I'm not surprised people are resigning left, right, and centre. And you know, you've got the Leavers and the Remainers who both aren't happy, and you've got Blairites on the Labour side that want to back May's plan because it's as close to remaining as it's as physically possible. Vassal state, I think, if you mentioned, quite possibly, yeah, quite possibly, Craig. Like I said, they're trying to stop us leaving. Well, I don't know. I feel like we've been through this for 2 years and we've made barely any progress whatsoever. And with like David Davis leaving because he feels like, well, I think he left on principle because he didn't feel like Brexit was going in the right direction. And I'm not surprised because I just don't think it's feasible, to be honest. I really don't think it's feasible. Because if you've got no plan from the outset, how the hell are you gonna find your way, like in the outset, like further down the line? I just like if you're already clueless and you've got people like telling you what you should be doing, how on earth can you draw lines and try and tell people what you want if you don't know what you want in the first place? So because he felt the investigate. Oh, hang on. go to the Express website. I'll try. I usually get loads of annoying adverts for the Express. Keir Starmer handed out white papers to Labour MPs. I thought, that's it. We must find God. Pray for our sins, shafted. I'm not sure who it was, but it was only 5 minutes before the debate. The media saw the paper 3 hours before the opposition. Some Brits call it treason. If we rebel against their rules, they'll send their EU army to deal with it. Well, it's not materialized yet, so touch wood, it doesn't happen. I think we're safe for the most part for the moment. Brexit at this point will be a disaster. Thanks, G, for joining us. You always seem to join the stream when I'm like within a few minutes from finishing. I've been going for well over an hour at this point, but it's all right. We're happy to have you. They didn't think we'd vote to leave. That's exactly it, shafted. I mean, nobody thought like people who campaigned to leave didn't even think we'd leave in the first place. Like they just thought it's just a massive game. We could take advantage of the British people and exploit their worst fears about immigrants and all the worst stuff that's going to happen, and 350 million to the NHS and stuff. And it's pure exploitation and people being taken for a ride, people being lied to. And, the results of that have been gradually, coming to us across over 2 years. Which is, I don't like seeing people being lied to. Yeah, it's not great. Anyway, I think I'll call it a day for today. Just because I'm getting really hot and it's really fucking warm in this room where I'm sitting, even at nearly 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, I just wanted to just have a bit of a rant really about Trump and how much I dislike him, and we should all hold him to account. Like we should all hold all the ruthless dictators to account, no matter who they are or where they are, and never let it be normalized, because if we start normalizing behavior like that, that's the route to fascism, and we all know where that leads. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's stream. I'm really grateful for you guys being here in the comments and giving your feedback in your comments and all your little contributions. We should be dragging them out by their necks. Damn straight, we should be hand out P45s to all the Conservative MPs. Yeah, if only we had a party or government we could really get behind. If only the England team would be in charge of the country, maybe we'd actually get somewhere, wouldn't we? Maybe we'd actually start winning things. We'd be winning so much, you'd be tired of winning, in famous words of Twathead himself. But yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed this stream. Hopefully, if Swiss ends up doing a stream on Sunday, I'll probably be involved in that somehow. PM Southgate, exactly. Craig Brexit, exactly. Oh, I didn't. Just as a FYI, I didn't watch the football game because I thought it's too stressful for me. I went out and walked the dogs instead, and I went out for the whole of the second half, and I was just walking around the field for 45 minutes, wondering what was happening, looking at my Twitter feed. And yeah, as we all know, it didn't end well, did it? Oh well. There's always the Euros in 2 years, and then World Cup again in 4 years. I think we still got it, guys. We still got it. Something to be proud of, at least. Something to hold our heads up high for. But yeah, thank you all for joining me tonight. You've been a pleasure as always. And I will see you in another stream and another video very soon. Don't forget, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and also share my content around if you feel you want to. If there's any content that you want to suggest to me that I should be doing, please let me know as always. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you very soon. Have a good evening, folks. Bye.